Welcome back to my poorly lit garage. All right, so this is gonna be the first update video with the Sun M13 wheel set and the front bearing and hub issue. So I think I found a solution, so I'm gonna show you what I wound up doing. And hopefully that does solve the problem with the actual bearing rotating in the hub. Now I'm still in communication with Velomind. They've been really helpful and they're gonna provide a solution possibly that may fix this. However, I wanted to attack this as if someone just bought these wheel sets from a random seller, no warranty, or they came on a bike that they found on Craigslist, OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, etc., where they're on their own. They have to fix it themselves. So here is my first attempt, and let me show you that now. All right, so when I did this fix, I wasn't filming, but I took pictures and I'll provide that shortly. Basically, I loosened the lock nuts, popped the bearings out, which they came out pretty easily because they're so loose in there, but they're not rattly. They fit snugly, but not enough for them to stay still. So when I popped them out, as you can see, there was some grease on the bearings. I cleaned that up, put them back in, and they still were a little loose. So I whipped out some plumber's tape and I actually wrapped around the bearing a few times, maybe like 2 or 3 rotations. And then I left a little bit of plumber's tape hanging behind the bearing. So when I tapped it in, it did fit a little more snug. I couldn't rotate it with my fingers, but as you can see here, the plumber's tape kind of came out a little bit. But at this point, I can't move it with my fingers like I did the previous video. And that's the thing too, plumber's tape compresses a little bit easier. So I didn't want to have something too thick where I couldn't tap in the bearing and it would wind up being kind of a wobble and not sit flush inside the hub. I also didn't want to use glue because I don't want glue seeping behind the bearing seals into the bearings and wind up seizing or causing premature wear. And I made 4 markings on the hub and the actual bearing race itself. So if it does rotate, I'll be able to notice that out on my ride. And I did it for the other side as well. And like I said, I'm pushing really hard with my finger and the bearing race is not rotating. So in theory, it should work. I did putt around outside a little bit and try to push the wheel like I was climbing, but I didn't go on an official ride yet. And it seems like it's staying in place. When I was communicating with Velomind, they did mention that sometimes the tension of the spokes can warp the hub, so the bearing might not fit normally. But they've never heard of this situation happening before, and I haven't as well. Like I mentioned in my last video, I have another set right now, the silver version on my Fuji Palisade, and there's no problems at all. I love single pivot brakes. You don't have to adjust them when you reinstall a wheel. They just pull to the center every time. Lastly, when you're your own mechanic, you do learn things by experience rather than what people say, things that you read online. And this is the perfect example of why now I get the purpose of loose ball bearing hubs. I complained about them in my previous video because it is annoying. You have to service them more, you have to adjust them because sometimes they'll be at the adjustment where you clamp down the quick release and then the wheel doesn't turn. So that's kind of the pain with loose ball bearing hubs. However, this isn't subject to the warping that happens at a microscopic level where we can't see with the naked eye from the spokes. Now that I know loose ball bearing hubs have its pros and cons, and also hubs that have seal ball bearings. And let's just say that if this solution doesn't work, the solution that Velomind.com is proposing doesn't work, and just the hubs are completely shot, well, I do have a set of Cyclone 7000 hubs that are 36 spokes, and these rims are 36 spokes. And they are absolutely beautiful and loose ball bearing hubs. Here's the rear hub. Also, if you couldn't tell, new old stock, by the way. All right, everything is good to go. Now I'm gonna go for a ride and check out my results. that I did a really long ride with a lot of climbs, let's check out the results. Okay, so this is the right side, and this bearing didn't have the same issue as the left side, but it was still pretty loose regardless. The right bearing didn't shift at all, but as you can see, the left side, the one that was giving me the most problems that I was able to turn with my fingers, did shift a tiny bit. You can see that my markings show that there was a little bit of movement. So pretty much what I did on my ride was I did a lot of fast ascents, get onto some sidewalks, and a lot of climbing, because when I would climb, that's when I would feel the knocking, the thumping noises, and feel it throughout the handlebars and the bike. So that's why I was doing a lot more climbs on my ride. But the wind was ridiculous. I couldn't set up any tripod shots, and then also my tripod wound up breaking. So I gotta replace that. So what this tells me is I'm onto something. I know I did about 2 to 3 wraps around the bearing with the plumber's tape. Maybe I need to do 4 or 5 wraps, maybe 6. Who knows? I'll keep playing with it. It's all about trial and error. Another reason I used the plumber's tape was because this has dust covers, the plumber's tape on the inside of the hub, when I installed it, wouldn't get sucked into the bearing because the bearing shields are the same on the other side. So I didn't have to worry about it ruining the bearing. But thank you for joining me. I really wanted to get this video out because of the lead that I had on trying to solve this issue, and I know I'm on the right track to solving it. I hope this video helps if you wind up getting these wheel sets. If you do want to know the conclusion, I'm gonna post more updates on my Instagram, New Old Steel. And also, if this doesn't solve it, I'll make a part 2 video, but I think this will, so I'm gonna leave this video at that. But thanks again for liking, subscribing, and watching my videos, and I'll catch you next time.